Hey everybody, Invisiblekatana here with my review for the Zack Snyder Justice League, the 4-hour epic that has officially been released on HBO Max. And I watched it at work. With the way things are, I don't do anything at work, so I watched 4 hours of HBO Max. Um, there will be spoilers. This will mostly be spoilers, to be totally honest. I'm just going to say right off the top here, I loved it. I actually really enjoyed it. Justice League was not like my least favorite. I know a lot of people like hated Justice League when it came out and stuff like that. For me, if I'm being totally honest, even people hate Suicide Squad. I can't stand Batman v Superman. Like that was my least favorite one. And when people complain about the slow motion, why I don't he's walking through wheats to look at graves or some crap. I don't remember. I hate that movie. I cannot stand Batman v Superman. That is my least favorite one. It is the worst thing ever to me. Like I've never hated a movie that I had to watch. I didn't have to watch it, but I've never been so adamantly bored watching a film than Batman v Superman. Like that's not even a joke. So I didn't hate Justice League. I just was like, it was all right. Like it was just like, meh, it's okay. This was actually really good. So if you haven't seen it, I recommend checking it out. I don't know as far as the concept of what this movie ever would have been anyway. It still wouldn't have been this because it wouldn't have been 4 hours. Like if when it originally released, if Zack Snyder didn't go through the tragedy that he went through losing his daughter, it wouldn't have been a 4-hour epic anyway. It still would have been some 2 hour, I mean maybe 3 hours. I feel like this movie probably could have made it within 3 hours because there's definitely stuff in this where I was like, they could take that out and I could see it like making, I mean heck, Avengers Endgame was like 3 or so hours. I would have been fine. Like if you're doing it right, then sure. I mean, I don't know if I would have had the faith considering Batman v Superman, but obviously I went to see Justice League anyway. But this could have worked. I mean, heck, I feel like they did more in the 2 hours just in this alone, and nothing really happened that much. I mean, there's some amazing stuff, and I'll get to that for sure. Wonder Woman, but they did far more in the 2 hours just in this incomplete version, where it's just part one and part two, I guess, than they did in all of Batman v Superman. As far as I was concerned, I was like, I'm actually enjoying this. I have about 4 half pages of little notes here, so there's a lot to talk about. So I say it's really good. I say check it out. If you have not seen Justice League, then this is perfect because you'll actually see a really good version. It won't go anywhere. I mean, who knows? Maybe this will actually be popular enough to kind of kickstart something else. I mean, the fact that they even bothered to do it must mean something. They must be kind of looking for some sort of edge and angle as to what people truly believe in, as far as like what do they like and what do they want. So maybe this will actually lead to something. It might not lead to Zack Snyder truly having like all of his ideas that were kind of born from this go out and create more movies and stuff, but maybe something could come of this. So we'll just have to wait and see at this point. But I really enjoyed it. I highly recommend you guys actually check it out. Watch it as you see. I actually pretty much watched it all the way through. I did end up pausing. I was technically at work, but I did end up pausing to just like kind of go pee and stuff like that. So if this was in theaters, it would almost be impossible not to within a 4-hour time span, unless you just like did not eat or drink anything. But it was good. I love the way it was handled. Fortunately for me, also, this is really funny, but I watched it on an iPad. So I was like, thank goodness I'm watching it on this iPad. Because I would have been pissed watching it on my TV. Because I know it was the, I can't even think of the aspect ratio right now. 4:3. I can't even think of what it is anymore. But it would have had like the black bars on the side because it shows more top and bottom. It's not widescreen. It's that more like IMAX style. So I was super happy because just watching that on YouTube on my TV, I was like, I hate this. So I was happy I watched it on the iPad because I was like, technically it's full screen for me because the iPad was just so small. So I was like, I'm okay with that because I'm like, I would have been driven insane by having to watch it and just look at these black bars because that's just not appealing to me. Like, it's just weird to me. So it was his vision. It is what it is. Storytelling wise though, it's fine. Visually, that would have bugged me if I actually watched it on my TV. I should do that and just to see what it looks like. But this movie was good. I actually enjoyed it. Cyborg got some effing justice. I'll get into that with spoilers. But as far as the spoiler-free segment, it's over. That's it. Go check it out. I think it's really good. So we're going to get into spoilers. Starting with page number 1. Now, I wrote at the top here, watch the original Justice League opening. Because they had a different opening for the movie. And who would have thought it was simple to make a good effing opening? Like, hey, the beginning of the original Justice League, not even counting the Superman thing, like just the beginning of the movie, period. Because that was just like, oh, Superman said some cool stuff about Hope and the fake mustache that everybody hates and all that. That, oddly enough, I didn't even notice that when I watched the movie. Like, it didn't even remotely affect me until I saw it later. I did not notice it whatsoever. I was just like, okay, he's talking. It didn't even affect me. It's funny, but it was like, okay, the opening to the original Justice League, the little Superman clip on the phone, and then it goes straight into just Batman, using this guy to kind of get a parademon, and then it kind of just goes into Wonder Woman right after that. The opening to this was so good, and I was just like, it's not like they did anything bombastic and utterly amazing. It was just an actually good opening, because it's like, hey, you know how you're introducing a bunch of people and a bunch of effing things, because you basically just went Superman, Batman, to Wonder Woman, and then everything else in the whole DC universe. Maybe you can have an opening that kind of just shows hints like, hey, Superman's scream activates the mother boxes. That was such a simple and amazing opening, to just be like, he died and his scream, which they kind of specify later, like, hey, him dying kind of activated the mother boxes, because they understood that he could fight back. If Darkseid decided to come down and kind of utilize him, he could fight back. So his death kind of activated them to say, like, that one defender that could actually do something is now gone. And with that, we get a great glimpse of everything we need in the entire film. He dies. They show Wonder Woman. They show Batman, which I put here. Batman had angry parent face. I'm Invisiblekatana on Instagram as well as Twitter. You can check it out. And I just used the face, and he had an angry parent face, and I made a very funny comment. I think it was funny. You should check it out. It was really good. But he just looked mad. He had that pouty face. So you should check out that random picture that still I took of my my work iPad and just put on Instagram. But the screams go out, and it's all these shockwaves. And so I put it here. They actually showed everyone from the beginning, not that hard. He screams. Okay, there's a mother box with the Amazons. Okay, they understood. It cracked. Okay. Cyborg had a mother box, and I love the fact that it was just like in his closet. I thought that was kind of funny. I was like, oh, so Cyborg exists in the beginning of the movie. Who would have thought? This dude who's like literally tied into mother box technology, because he's part mother box, he's important. Who could have possibly imagined that? I'm probably going to get into a bit of a rant on the Cyborg thing, because finally they did what should have been done in the first place. But we'll get to that when we get to it. So they showed him. They showed Atlantis. Like, they have their mother box. They showed everyone that's going to be in the movie during this sequence. And it was important. It was like, okay, that's all you have to do, just to be like, here's what's happening. You show a character, even if it's not a full-on introduction, like, this is Cyborg, this is his story. You show a character. You don't wait, 15 minutes. I didn't even fast forward through the movie. Like, I just, before doing this review, I watched the actual opening again to the movie, and then I went through Wonder Woman's scene, because it jumped straight from, it was like Superman doing his little opening, and then it cut straight to Batman, and then it cut straight to Wonder Woman, and then I'm sure after that it probably cut straight to Cyborg. I'm probably going to check, actually, while I do this. I might as well just go through just to complain about that movie. The original version. Because even when I watched the original version, I was just like, it's Superman. But even then, I was like, they did a lot of weird stuff where it was like, things are just dumb. So as we go through, we see everyone in the beginning of this film. I'm just going to kind of go through my notes here because it helps. So then after that, I say, the death of Superman was literally a call to the other heroes and the journey they were about to take. Very simple. It worked in so many different ways. Oh, Bruce got the bread. Okay, so that was for the Aquaman scene. My notes are very scattered, so it's not like through the whole movie. Bruce got the bread. I thought that was funny because they slightly changed the Aquaman scene, and they changed like the amount of money he offered, because they showed like the symbol on the wall in the original version, and in this version they didn't do that. He was just talking to the people, and then as soon as Aquaman grabbed him, he was just like, bam, here's the 50,000 or 100,000 or whatever he offered them. And I thought it was kind of funny where like as soon as he did it was like, okay, here you go. And it was just funny that he did it that way. So I like that. One of the many weird scenes ended up popping on after that, though, where Aquaman was like, okay, doing the thing. I'm not going to do that, blah, blah, blah. And so he leaves. And for whatever, it is one of the many weird musical things. A lot of people talked about it, like the Wonder Woman stuff. Every time she showed up, oh, like it was just like, I don't even like how that sounds that much. And it's just, as soon as she appears, like you can just hold off a second. But he left. And they're just like singing, and for like no reason, and he took his shirt off, and the woman just grabbed his shirt and was just like, and then just sung. I was like, did he bang her? What? Why did she just do that? They shouldn't have put that in there. I know this is his vision, but that's a dumb vision. I don't know what that meant. They're just singing, and I was like, that's weird, dude. That was just weird. So that scene happened, and it is what it is. Let's see what was there. Funny pillows, on the TV, phone. I don't even know what these notes even mean. What the F is this? Oh, this is stupid ideas that I had. Yeah, I meant to write this on a different page. These are like some random notes. Oh, okay, here we go. Wonder Woman stuff. The security guard sucked in the beginning. I don't know if this was the same in the original movie, but they put him in a van, right? The main dude, he gets out. He's just dressed in a suit. It was like, okay, because he just had like the suppressed pistol. So that was okay. It was simple. The second person that got out of the van opened up the side door and came out fully strapped, full large automatic weapon right here. It just went from top to bottom across the front of his body. And they walked up to the security guard, and it took him a second to like register and then be like, oh. And then of course the first guy turned around and shot him in the back of the head. And I'm like, you're the only person there. It wasn't like a bunch of cars or traffic or people were distracting him. Like, it was an empty street. You're looking right at two vans pull up, and a dude got out, and then another dude got out with a machine gun. And it was like, I know that it was supposed to be like this stealthy thing, but they should have filmed it where he just wasn't paying attention or something random happened. Like, they should have just filmed it where he killed the guy first and then the other people got out of the van, because that was really dumb. Because I'm like, you can't see a man get out of a van with a machine gun in front of a bank walking towards you, and it takes you time to process that. Like, he got out with an assault rifle, but instantaneously, boom, what the F are you doing? And it took him like 20 seconds to be like, do I point? And then he got shot in the back of the head. I was like, that's stupid. So that was dumb. The security guard sucked. And then one of the craziest things happened. So Wonder Woman had, like, there are like three amazing moments in this movie. Wonder Woman's introduction, or her new introduction, is amazing. Flash had his moment, not his first scene, but his end scene, like we had Speed Force Flash, and then Cyborg's introduction to his abilities and stuff. Those are like my three favorite scenes in the whole movie. So the scene with Wonder Woman, where they introduce her, I'm kind of just shooting through this. So they just did the Aquaman scene, and now they're just on the plane talking about blah, blah, blah. Like, this just really does nothing. Like, they're just kind of introducing the characters, but you don't feel anything for any of these characters. And let's see, Cyborg showed up 20 minutes into the movie. And it's the first time we see him. He's just there. They just jump to the characters. They don't like show that something's about to happen. They just show the characters in this original version. Like, there's no real cohesion at all in this movie. It's so insane. It's so weird. Like, it's so disjointed in that original version. So Wonder Woman fighting the bank robbers, they're just random dudes in the original. It's like, okay, these guys are some bank robbers. It's just like some random stuff happens and they set off the bomb as if they're, you know, like, it was just like they're gonna just kill all these people. And it was like, okay, that's interesting. In this version though, they explain that they are not like bank robbers or anything like that. Like, they go through the entire process. Like, that scene, like, I actually watched it in the original version. They cut a lot of dialogue. And it was kind of funny. They cut a bunch of dialogue, and oddly enough, in the Snyder Cut version, they cut dialogue where Wonder Woman specifically says, like, he's explaining his whole thing, and she's like, boring. It, like, keep it moving. I thought that was super funny. So they go through, and he's like, yeah, we're just killers. Like, we just want to kill people. It's pure chaos. We just want to kill people and basically revert the world back. And I was like, these guys are a million times cooler in this than they were in the original version, because as soon as he explained exactly what they were, I was like, there's no way that that's what they were in the original, because that sounds amazing to me. And I was like, Wonder Woman versus a group of this, that should be the third Wonder Woman movie. If I'm being totally honest, I was like, no joke. If it even I know there's a third Wonder Woman, and it probably, unfortunately, won't be this violent, but I was like, if they make another movie, it should be exactly that. Like, she killed those guys, and then she hunts down the rest of that gang. That could be a whole movie, and I think that would be one of the coolest things we've ever had, because I was like, it's almost like a Joker thing, but it's a full-on gang, which technically Joker always has a bunch of people anyway, but it's that same sort of concept. Like, these are just very coordinated people who go in, they're dressed up and stuff, they have their weapons and everything, and they just go in and they kill people. It's like, I specifically put, these guys are really cool as pure killers, and then of course woman killed them all, and it was great. I literally put, Wonder Woman killed them all, and it was great, because it was. I mean, it was the coolest thing ever. She went in, and I was like, she's punching people, and they cut it up so much in the original Joss Whedon version. And it's more PG. This is obviously R-rated, even though it's not that crazy. But I understand why they did it, and it's probably mostly because they dropped the F-bomb like twice. It's like you can't drop the F-bomb or it's rated R. You know, stupid ratings are. But she killed those people, and it was freaking amazing to me, and I loved every second of it, because I'm like, That's Wonder Woman. That's what she did. Like, Wonder Woman will try not to just brutally murder everybody, but also she was dealing with what, like half a dozen dudes in like this tight space. Everyone's already up against the wall, easy to just kind of spray them across. Everyone had machine guns, and it's just like, okay, I gotta take these fools out. And so they show it, but it's more graphic because technically she hits the same people like they do in the original version, but they show them after she hits them. It's like, oh, he hit that wall and there's blood over there. The one dude, she really effed up. She punched him in the stomach. He was about to hit the hostages, and so she's like, oh, hold on, and she grabbed him, and then she just threw him. She could have just caught him and then just let him drop. And she's like, nah, and she threw him, and that was my favorite part because she caught him, and then he hit the wall, and I was like, he's dead. Like, his head hit a wall, and it was like a crater, and blood was in it, and I was like, he is dead. Wonder Woman 10 out of 10. It's the best thing I've ever seen. And so she kills all these people. And so then they have the bomb. Even the bomb sequence is different. When she grabs the bomb and goes up, in the Joss Whedon version, she kind of goes through the floor and then she throws the briefcase through a window. And then in this version, she just flies straight up and then throws it up in the air while she's in the air and it blows up. And I was like, that's such an odd change that to even make that, I thought was such a weird change. I did kind of like it a little bit. The pacing wise, I liked it a little bit more. Literally just that ending part because I felt it was oddly long. In the Snyder cut version, because when she throws it up and it explodes, I'm like, okay, yeah, it hit her and stuff, but she's a demigod. Like, she's fine from that very simple man-made explosion. Like, I know it was a big explosion, but I'm like, it took her a long time. I felt like they kind of had the scene where he's like, okay, he picks up the gun and then he does it and everything. I was like, when you see it really play out, I was like, it took her a long time to get back, and she flew up in the air and a bomb blew up. Like, I get a bomb exploded, but I'm like, for Wonder Woman to take that long from going straight up in the air, even if the bomb exploded, it would have knocked her just straight back down. Like, it seemed like it took her forever to come back down before he shot that first bullet off. And I was like, that just seemed like it took an oddly long amount of time. So that was like the only thing I was like, okay, they cut a little bit of time out. And I was like, it does make a bit more sense in the Joss Whedon version than the Snyder cut, because I'm just like, that just seemed like an oddly long amount of time for her to have flown straight up in the air. And it took her, it felt like a full 30 seconds where he picked up the gun, was looking at everybody, pointed the gun, and then he shot the first bullet, and she came back down. I was like, that just felt like it took forever to me. So that was literally the only thing. So even her blocking the bullets was cooler because we got to see more of it. And I was like, man, that's amazing. Like, it had been forever. Like, I watched the Justice League movie one time, and that was it. So seeing even old stuff was like, oh, this is super cool. But so much of it was like extended and stuff. Everything seemed brand new to me. But like, her blocking the bullets at hyperspeed was like, that just looks super cool. And she's like tripping people's like, boom, and you're flying over there. So he goes through, she blocked, every bullet gets blocked. And so in the Justice League, original Justice League version, he's like, I don't believe it. What are you? And she says a believer. They cut that line out. And so he's about to shoot again. And she does the thing, is like, boom, and it just flashes. When she does that, it flashes, and then it cuts to the next scene. It cuts to Batman going to meet Aquaman. That's how it goes. In the Snyder cut, that dude got disintegrated. I don't know where his body is because she hit him. And it just went, the whole build, it was like the coolest thing ever. I was like, that's why I like when she does that move. They always make it cool. And she just was like, okay. Bing! And just the whole half of the wall just blows out. And then his hat just comes, just gliding on the wind. And I was like, she eviscerated this man. Like, his atoms were the same. Like, she Rasen Shuriken this guy. That reference might not make sense to you, but that's what she did to that man. That's what I believe. His cellular structure was hit by a sonic wave. And it was just like, and it was gone. Like, it was amazing. And I was like, that is so freaking cool. She didn't even have to. The dude was by himself. There was no other person. She could have just been like, and she could have flicked him in the head and knocked him unconscious. And she was like, you know what I'm going to do instead? I'm just going to hit these. I'm going to hit my bracelets. Whatever. Just absolute chaos. And it was amazing. So I love that scene. The next Wonder Woman needs to be that. Like, if the next Wonder Woman could be rated R, and it's just as violent as this, that's all we need. It doesn't have to be like she's punching through people and stuff. Just what they have is exactly what I want to see. And apparently, I need to look up some more comments, but I think some people are probably like, Wonder Woman doesn't kill. I was like, if anybody's going to kill, it's Wonder Woman. To make a really odd reference, she's like Homie the Clown, because Homie don't play that. She will fuck you up. Like, that's Wonder Woman. It's just like, I'll kill you. No biggie. Like, who cares? She's a warrior. That's what they do. That's why I like Wonder. That's why Wonder Woman was my favorite. This scene was like, people will understand. People will understand. So we keep going. Amazing thing. Amazons are epic, obviously, obviously. So that was a great sequence. It was extended. The fight with Steppenwolf was amazing. He has an axe now he may have had that in the original, but in this is way better. Like he has it has I actually put it here. I was like, his axe equals Kratos plus Thor because Kratos has an axe in the new God of War, and he has like the yellow lightning and stuff now. So I was like, they definitely blended like the Kratos and Thor elements to me. That's just what I saw it as. And he's got like the yellow lightning coming down. He looks way better. Looking at this, the original CG is just like, no, it's weird CG. Even in the new version where he's got like all the crazy spikes and stuff, but it does actually look cooler. I do like it a lot more. So this scene, it's the Amazon fight scene. I thought it was cool, even in the original version. It's definitely better in the newer version, and of course, it's more violent. Like we see more people fighting, we see more people dying, being shot and cut, and things like that. I like the way it was all handled. I like the scene where Steppenwolf is being grabbed by all the Amazons. Like they can't, like kind of get through his armor and stuff, so they just grab him to try to hold him off. I thought that was a really cool scene. And then, of course, everything that they did, like, I felt it was super long compared to this original version, so I'll probably see as I'm going through it. But everything they did, I was like, this is super cool. And apparently, this scene where they all hold him back was in the original as well. Like I said, it's been forever since I've seen the original. But I love this scene. I thought it was great in the original. I thought it was even better here because I was like, oh, they add more to it. The lightning effect really does add a lot to him utilizing that axe throughout the movie. I actually thought that was a really good idea just to have it where it's like, it's just super stylized. Like, it really doesn't do anything. It just adds a visual effect, and I was like, that's a great effect to add. Like it's so simple, but I was like, that's a good effect. That's a really good effect actually. So it's just him, utilizing the axe. And in this also, so I'm watching it right now. They do not sink the entire island. I knew something was different there. The whole Coliseum collapses in the Snyder cut. In this, he literally just cut out. Like he just used the axe and all he did was just cut a hole in the wall and he popped out and now he's fighting everybody. And that's it. So it wasn't as dramatic where it was like the entire thing collapsed into the ocean and fell down. It was just like, okay, they tried to close it off and then he was like, he just popped a hole in the wall and he left. So it's very different, very different. But I like the way it was handled. The Amazon stuff was epic. It was great there as well. The Ancient Fire. I'm trying to speed through this. I probably should have actually watched this, but I really didn't want to spend 2 extra hours just watching this crap. So they did actually shoot the fire in the original movie as well. The Ancient Fire. There's also a scene with... Oh, none of that was in there. Okay, there's a whole scene here that I just skipped through that has... Not one... What the heck? Lois and Martha. Lois and Martha are talking. So they have a scene like really early on in the Joss Whedon version, and that's not in the Snyder cut. So the Ancient Fire does exist. That's a whole thing. They just skipped. There's literally like a minute and a half right here. Cyborg is like a minute and a half of him looking through stuff, and then that's it. Shame. But we're going to get to that. So the Ancient Fire. The Ancient Fire was super sick. They actually had Wonder Woman go there in the Snyder cut. She goes through, she puts the arrow on the wall and everything, and she does her little, her mini adventure, and then it's like, oh, apocalypse. We're effed. This sucks. So that was really cool. They actually showed a bunch of stuff. I feel like I'm going to be talking forever about this. There's so much to talk about. Oh, Aquaman littered with his shirt. He just couldn't stop taking his shirt off. I know that was for the ladies, but this is a dude that's supposed to care. And he kept taking his shirt off as he was getting in the water. Like, you're already wet. Stop. And he just took his shirt off and he just threw it. And I was like, that's littering. That's littering. Just to note. Just to note. Listen, they actually talk about Aquaman. Oh my God. I forgot about this. Okay, so this was my biggest thing. I should have known. I'm sorry, this is going to be a long video. If you're already here, you're just already with me. In the first Justice League, I said this was like my greatest complaint. When they go, speaking of going to just like, we're here and we're there. When Aquaman first shows up, or when Atlantis, I should say, first shows up in the original Joss Whedon Justice League, they literally fight Steppenwolf. They have a conversation, and then Aquaman leaves, and I was like, there's like 80% of the people in this theater like, who the fuck is this red-haired woman? Because he literally doesn't even say her name is Mira. And if you go back and watch the original Justice League, they literally do not say anyone's name. Like, they talk, and then he leaves, and I was like, as a comic reader, I know who Mira is. I know this character. She literally showed up and they talked, and then he left. He didn't say her name. They didn't talk about anything else. It was just the conversation they had, and he left. And I'm like, there are people sitting here right now that are like, who's that red-haired woman? Where is he at? What is happening? Because they literally say nothing. So I put, so that just really bugged me, because I'm like, that's just storytelling. Like, I don't care what you do. I may not write, but I know that was dumb. So, actually, I do write. What am I saying? I may not make movies, but I know that was really stupid. So, they actually talk about Aquaman lore, for fuck's sake. They have a scene where Aquaman just goes to the throne. Willem Dafoe shows up. He's actually in this movie. He, obviously was cut from the original. And they just talk about it. They at least show it. That was literally it. I was just like, the fact that he was even in Atlantis and they used the word Atlantis and this and that, and it was just like, this is who you are. This is literally, he's being introduced. Flash is being introduced. Cyborg is being introduced. And yet, for some idiotic reason, I don't know why they didn't think that even the Joss Whedon cut could have just been like, just make it 3 hours or 2.5 hours or something. Just the actual introduction scenes would have done something for that original movie. But there's like, who needs it? Who needs to know that Aquaman just went to Atlantis? Who needs to know that he's literally talking to a woman that's supposed to become his wife and is a very important comic book character? Who needs to know any of that stuff? Maybe the people watching the movie. I don't know. I don't make movies, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, they talk about Aquaman lore. Who knew that would be important for a story? To introduce a character and who they are. So they did that. I feel like I'm just hating on this original version, but they did a lot of... That was like my main thing, was just like, how can you not have a scene where they say a character's name when she shows up in one scene and you're just like, she's important? I thought that was a spider. Fortunately, it was just a piece of dust. She shows up in one scene, and you don't just say, you have him say Mira or anything. It was so weird to me. I'm like, there are people sitting next to me who have no idea who this woman is, and I knew that when I was watching that movie, and I was just like, that is a failure. So anyway, wow, that hurt. They have that moment, so that was really good. Then they have Darkseid. He looks cool. This is during the flashback sequence. It's extended. He looks cool. The sigil, which we find out is actually the anti-life equation, so that was cool. The classic Green Lantern looked cool. It was a different version than the Joss Whedon version, so that was nice. They have Zeus and Ares, which they may have been in the original version, and they probably referenced that. I'm not 100% sure. I thought Zeus was actually Hercules, just because the dude was super ripped, and I was just like, oh, is that Hercules? Especially because his arms were glowing, but then it was like, oh, he shoots lightning. It makes sense, his arms would be glowing, but I was just like, oh, is that supposed to be, Hercules? Because they were just the old gods. So I was like, okay, and the dude was insanely ripped. I was just like, oh, this dude's super ripped, thanks. But, he's shooting lightning. It was super cool. They had Ares in there, and he had, his axe and stuff. They actually took Darkseid out super fast. Like, I thought it was going to be longer, and Darkseid came in and was like, oh, he's getting hit by lightning. He's like, I can take this. Ares came in and was just like, and he was like, oh, and then Darkseid lost, and I was like, okay. I mean, he was younger. He was like 5,000 years younger, so, you're not as strong as you used to be, or you're not as strong when you're younger. So I was like, okay, they took him down. He was facing everybody, admittedly. So they beat him. He takes off. That was one of the things I didn't think made sense about the movie, though, is that he forgot where he was at and was like, the one planet that defeated you ever, you left. And like, I know that he was unconscious, but it was like everybody that was there was like, we went there and then we went back home because you were hurt. They couldn't be like, yeah, we just did like this straight line, like it was that planet. I thought that was a little weird, where I was like, the one planet that defeated him, nobody was like, check mark this one. Can we bookmark this so we can kill them later? Let's bookmark it before we go. Let's make sure we know that this is the planet that he lost on so that he can come back and kill them later. And they just left and forgot. And it was like 5,000 years. And it was like, I destroyed 50,000 planets since then. And no one thought to bookmark this planet. I thought that was weird. That was like the one thing where I was like, that's dumb. If one place ever does anything, you kind of just check that off. Like, that place is the one place I lost. But they left and forgot it, and forgot where it was at. And I'm like, I know the universe is probably big, but that's just weird that you wouldn't kind of keep tabs on that one. But look cool, epic sigil. They fight the gods. I put humans will dig a hole. I think that's in the original version too. It was like, okay, the Atlanteans, they took them on the box, the Amazons, and then the humans took them on the box. And they were like, let's dig a 3-foot hole. And they were just like, yeah, that's good. Let's put dirt on it. And that was how they got rid of like a mother box. They put in like a 3-foot deep hole, and they put dirt on it. Okie dokie, okay. Then we got the Flash introduction. So this was, of course, the deleted scene with the Flash. He's always late. That's actually a thing in the comic books where even though he's the dude with super speed, he's always late. That's like an actual joke with him. Like he never sees movies on time and stuff like that. It's just a funny joke. Like the guy with super speed, he's always late. So that was cool that they put that in there. Big Belly Burger. The guy who was in the 18-wheeler was eating Big Belly Burger. That is like a huge franchise within the DC universe. So I was like, that's super cool. If you watch CW, they reference it all the time, especially on Flash. They always reference Big Belly Burger. So I thought that was cool. I was like, oh, Big Belly Burger. They made that reference, so that was cool. Also, that dude dropped the burger on an 18-wheeler's floor. I'm like, that burger is dead. I actually put, that burger is dead, bro. Like, you dropped a burger on the ground on the 18-wheeler, like, floor. It's gone, man. Just let it go. Let it go. Oh, the CG seed, hilarious. Like, really, he had to do that. That had to be slow motion, a CG seed. Sesame buns. He blew, I wrote it real big. He blew the shoes off, though. When he turned, also his shoes had the lightning on them. That was cool. He turned, and his shoes exploded. Amazing sequence. I was like, that is super cool. And then, slightly creepy. Why do you have to like caress her hair and stuff in slow motion? Like, couldn't you have just saved her and then they had that long sequence where they just stare at each other for a long time, or even not a long time? Like, it was just weird. I was like, I know that they were looking at each other. Like, he passes her when he goes into the store for the job, and so like she's attractive, he's attractive. They're both just staring at each other. They can't stop staring at each other. She literally wasn't even looking where she was going. She's just like about to die. Granted, she had a green light. Maybe, who the F knows? She probably didn't, because it's not like she was looking. So, obviously the crash happens. He hits. He blows out the window. I like that. When he touched the window and it blows open and stuff. And it was really cool. I like the sequence. I like the super speed and the lightning kind of blowing off of him. I always think that looks cool. But it was a weird scene where it was just like he's caressing her and looking at her, and they made it worse. It was super funny. I knew nothing was gonna happen, but I even saw this in other reviews where people mentioned how funny it was. Where like he does that, and then he looks over and he like sees this giant wiener next to her face, and it's funny because it's like he creepily caressed her, and then it's like, oh, a long hot dog, and it's just funny because it's like, how can you not instantly attach those two things? But of course he just took that for the dog. I thought he was just gonna eat it because it's like, oh, food. I just assumed he was gonna eat it, and then he put it in his pocket. But that was so funny because I'm like, I know nothing's gonna happen, but it's super funny that they filmed that whole sequence and then thought, let's have him just grab a giant wiener next to her face, and no one's gonna think of anything when that happens. So that made me laugh like crazy because I'm like, did they not actually watch this scene back when they did it? Did they not watch it back when they were doing the CG and just thought, why don't we just do a quick little moment where he runs out, boom, we cut. Like, I guess they couldn't really do it. They could have done it where, well, I don't know. It's so hard to do a cut there because everything was so seamless, and it literally starts with him like caressing her hair. So it would have been a little hard to do a cut, but they could have done something. Like I don't know. Like I just don't know. Like maybe they could have cut it, and as soon as he got there, just cut it to where he sees the hot dog first. That would have been funny. I think that could have worked. Just cut to where he does the hot dog first, and then just cut to him like grabbing her and stuff. The whole scene of them doing like this crazy magic love song in slow motion, and he's like, wow, and like he could be attracted to her, but to like slow motion caress her hair was just a little weird to me, and I'm like, okay, I know he's awkward, but he ain't gonna be that awkward. Slightly creepy. And then I put, I'm actually enjoying it a lot. That was probably a little bit. I think by the time we got to chapter 3, it was only like an hour or something in, actually. And then I was like, holy crap, I'm having a great time. Like, I was genuinely being like, this is just entertaining to watch. Everything was actually fun. Like, the way everything felt so seamless, and the pacing and the flow, it was great. I was like, this is actually pretty good. I'm really enjoying this. So then we have Cyborg Justice. That's all I put. The real backstory, the contemplation of his power and what he can do. Like, the scope of his abilities, him, like, them doing the stuff where it's like, it's him in his jacket and stuff. First off, he had an actual flashback. He didn't just pop up and then they just keep going. He had a flashback. He has character. He is Cyborg. And if there's anything that this movie proves, is that I don't know what Joss Whedon was smoking, where he was like, cut everything that Cyborg has. If like you could cut Flash's stuff, because there's literally like a funny introduction to him being a silly character and this attractive girl that doesn't show up in the movie later. So that scene could easily have been cut, which it was, and nothing's actually missing except for it just being a cool sequence. Like, it was just a cool moment, and he saved her life, and then he runs back in like, oh, I hope everyone's okay. I always bring like a little meat stack for times of stress for dogs and stuff. So it was like a little silly moment. But Cyborg being connected to the mother boxes, he's literally like the most important character in this entire movie. Like, no joke. And I was just like, not only that, but the fact that he actually gets to be the character he truly is in comics will allow people to be like, oh, Cyborg is actually really cool. Because I know a lot of people have seen Teen Titans and they like Cyborg, but they don't touch, too much on it. It wasn't overly intense. Like, they touched on the fact that he misses his body, but I don't think they ever reference his father, in Teen Titans. Like, that's a huge part of his relationship, is that his father was always kind of abandoning him, so they finally have it, I would say, on the big screen, but at the very least, people watch this. A lot of people have seen Teen Titans, but they, don't really know Cyborg. A lot of people still probably haven't watched Doom Patrol. So if you haven't seen Doom Patrol, they do it well there. It's just over the course of like a 2-season show, so it's not as condensed as it is here. So I think they did a really good job with doing it condensed, where it's just like, here's a quick version of it within, technically a 4-hour time span. But I thought they did a fantastic job on that. So I was like, all right, this is really good. So I enjoyed that. The scene, I was like, I got a little bit emotional. I'm not gonna lie. Like, him going through and like realizing everything he can do. It's like, you can launch all the missiles, you could take all the money in the world, all these things, and it's not about, whether or not, it's not about what you can do. It's not whether or not you should do it. It's having the power and having the control over yourself, not to be a horrible human being. And so he ends up finding this woman, and he watches her life as she's struggling to make money. She gets like change for tips, and she gives that tip to a homeless guy, and she's trying to help her family. She gets evicted, and then he does like, you won like $100,000 in this random prize thing. And I was like just watching, I was like, okay, I'm getting a little bit emotional. Like, that was a really good scene. Like, I love that scene. And it was just him finding one person and being like, okay, this is him truly becoming a hero. It was like his first little thing where it was like, I could do anything I want. And I saw this, I see stacks of money, and I just saw this little bank account. And he just makes money. He just makes the money. And it's like, surprise, you won this $100,000 thing, and it helps this woman and her family. And I was like, that's such a good scene. And it was just him, what he could do, and really becoming Cyborg. Like, realizing that Victor Stone is something that no longer truly exists. And this is him accepting what he's become. Him, practicing his fight stuff. We even see him do like the Full Metal thing. I don't think that was in the original version either. So I thought that was of course, it makes me think of Deathstroke. So it was kind of funny when they did it, and it was just like, all you see is the red. I was like, all that makes me think of is Deathstroke, oddly enough, because of course he's in the movie. But I love that scene. I thought it was a fantastic scene, and him just existing in this movie as an actual character. I was like, thank goodness Cyborg is going to get some real justice, because I always like Cyborg. I like his really deep story, but no one effing knows that. They know Booyah, and they know Teen Titans, and there is more to his character than that. There is emotional stuff that he has to deal with. So I like that we actually got to see that. I don't know why Joss Whedon thought that was dumb and decided to take it out, because that's ridiculous. So I thought that was really good. Whew, so many notes. So like him crushing the thing, like he didn't want to hear the part about his father being like, let me speak to you as a father, and then he crushed the recording. I was like, oh, that's really good. He listened to him talk about like, this is what you've become and this is what you can do. But when it came to that emotional element of like us as a family, which he was always absent, he's absent at the game. Like, he smiles at his mom, he won the big game, he sees that empty chair, and then none of it matters anymore. It's like, just that scene is like, that is Cyborg. That's his character. That's him as a human. Then that loss, and then that development. And it's like, and then that struggle to, continue to love his father, trying to bond with him as the story continues after he's already become Cyborg. And it's like, that's all we needed. That's all they had to do. It was really good. It's really good. You know what? I'm gonna do this in parts. That's too much. That's too much. This is long enough. This will be in parts. This is part 1. We're gonna go into Flash and some other stuff later. I didn't think I'd talk this long, but like, there's so much to discuss. So I got my other set of notes. F it. This is part 1 of my Snyder Cut review. Didn't plan on doing that, obviously. You knew that when it was coming into it, but I didn't know I was gonna do that. I'm gonna do this later. I might be wearing the same shirt. I might switch shirts. Who the F knows? As of now, thank you guys for checking this out. I would love to know your thoughts on this. At least where I've gotten... You can let me know your thoughts on the whole movie if you want to. It's totally up to you. It's not like I haven't seen the whole thing, so feel free. Just be careful if for whatever reason you're only watching. You've only seen up to where I've talked to somehow. There will be spoilers for the whole movie. Potentially. Depends on who even bothers to watch this. But thanks for checking this out if you did. We'll love to know your thoughts on the movie. Do we get anything else? Does something come after this? There's a lot to talk about with the 18 epilogues we got, so we'll definitely be into that and some of the crappy. The Joker stuff was bad, right? Like, he was worse than he even was in Suicide Squad. I'll talk about that later, but I would love to know your thoughts on that now. So, thanks for checking this one out. I will do part 2 later. I don't even know when I'm going to upload either of these things, but thanks for checking this out. If you guys have any comments, please put them down in the comment section below. And, of course, thanks for watching.